You're very good at knowing what other people need. You notice when someone is off, you adjust, you show up. You often know before they say a word what the room needs from you, and you give it. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, somewhere between the noticing and the giving and the adjusting, you stopped hearing yourself. Not all at once, it happens slowly. One override at a time, one "I'm fine" when you weren't, one "I can handle it" when you weren't sure you could. One more day of pushing through before you actually stopped to ask yourself what you needed. If that's where you are, I want you to know that you're not alone. And I want to offer you something today, not a fix, a practice. One small, quiet thing that starts to close the gap between who you are for everyone else and who you are for yourself. You're not someone who gave up on yourself. You are someone who got very, very busy taking care of everything else. Every time you override what you actually need, a small thing happens. You get a little further from yourself. Not dramatically, not in one moment, but over time, the distance grows. And one day, you realize you don't actually know what you need anymore. You've been so fluent in everyone else's language that you've forgotten how your own intuition speaks. It is not a character flaw. That is not a weakness. That is what happens when a capable, caring person spends years putting everything and everyone before themselves. And guess what? It is reversible. But here's the thing about reversing it. You cannot think your way back to yourself. You cannot analyze your way into knowing what you need. The only way back is to stop, to actually stop and listen. I want to share a practice. I call it the pause. It's not a meditation, though it can feel like one. It's not a journaling exercise, although it opens up the door to that. It's something smaller and more immediate than either of those things. It is this. You stop what you're doing. You take one slow breath. You say your own name out loud or quietly inside, just enough to signal to yourself that you are here, that you matter, that this moment is for you. And then you ask yourself one honest question. What do I need right now? And then you let whatever comes up be there without editing it. Not the acceptable answer, not the reasonable answer, not the answer that is easiest to act on. Whatever actually comes up, you let it be there. That is the pause. It takes less than a minute, and done consistently, it begins to rebuild something that most of us have been quietly dismantling for years: the relationship with our own inner voice. You were born knowing how to hear yourself. This practice is a way of remembering. Now, I want to be honest with you about what the pause is not. It is not a quick fix. One pause does not undo years of overriding. I'm not going to promise you that. What I am going to tell you is what actually happens when you do it consistently, because I have watched it happen. I have experienced it happening. The first few times, it can feel almost uncomfortable. You stop and ask what you need, and the answer that comes up might surprise you. Or it might be something so simple you almost dismiss it. Rest, quiet, to cry, to laugh, to not be responsible for anything for 10 minutes. And the mind wants to say, but what about the thing you have to accomplish? You don't have time for feelings. But what comes to you is exactly right for you. And it is worth listening to. Over time, something shifts. You begin to notice the moment you are about to override yourself before you do it. You catch the "I'm fine" on its way out. You feel the nudge before the push through. And in that noticing, in that small space between the impulse and the action, you get to make a different choice. Not always, not perfectly, but more than before. And that small space, practiced over and over, is where the relationship with yourself gets rebuilt. That is what dealing and healing actually looks like from the inside. Not dramatic, not instant, quiet, consistent, and over time, it changes everything. If this teaching resonates in you, I want you to know there's a next step available whenever you're ready. The Pause Reflection Journal is 8 days of gentle, honest prompts, one a day, designed to help you practice exactly this, slowing down and actually listening to what is already there. No homework, no tests, no right answers, just a quiet daily space to close the gap between hearing and listening. It's available for download in the description below. And here's the question I want to leave you with. Where in your life right now do you need to slow down? When can you practice pausing and asking yourself, self, what do you need right now? You do not have to answer here, but if you would like to share, share.